What's up with this? Why isn't it working? Work. The hell is going on? An error occurred. All right, hold on.
Broke the internet.
Try again. Boom.
Yeah.
Welcome to, I'm going to call this Roster Building 101, where Coach Johnston and I are going to discuss and debate the merits of going brick by brick, the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan way, or the all-in Les Snead and Sean McVay way. Noah, how you doing? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing great. Hanging out here in Jersey. We've got a boatload of snow outside from a couple days ago.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I had Jason Aponte on the show yesterday. He's also from Jersey. Have you crossed paths with him before?
Only a little bit on Twitter a couple times. I've not done any shows or anything like that with him.
Good guy. We got to get like a California Jersey tag team thing going on eventually.
All right.
So what we want to talk is brick by brick versus all in. And the context here is, to me, it seems like Niner fans liked the brick by brick method until maybe the Stafford trade. And then they see the Rams and they're like, man, you know what? Let's go all in. Let's be aggressive. And maybe there are some merits to that. It's like the Rams have had more success than the Niners, although ultimately both teams have gotten to the Super Bowl and lost. So it's hard to say the Rams have a better method. Let's talk. Which do you prefer and why?
I believe in the brick by brick method. But you know, you gotta pick your spots to where you want to go after that. But you know, that big shiny brick. But ultimately, I think the brick by brick method, it's proven out to be the better method. You know, these teams that, if you look in the past, the teams that have gone all in, they don't get to the Super Bowl and they don't win. I think.
Yeah, when I was growing up, the teams that went all in were like Washington every year.
Right.
And it never worked.
Right. They go and spend all their money in free agency and then would end up, 8-8 or like, 9-7. The thing about it is the NFL, there's too many variables. Like if you put all your eggs in one basket, all of a sudden something happens, your quarterback goes out. Or look at the Niners season this year. All of a sudden your whole roster is injured. Now you went all in for a dead season. Okay. Right. So I think when you're roster building, you really, in my eyes, you have to look at it as you're going to attack it as a 3-year period and build your team so that you can keep that window open within 3 years, and and if you can hit, knock at that door within all those 3 years, hopefully you can break it down. And so I think that's to me.
Right, because if you go all in for 1 year, you're taking for granted the nature of the sport, which is injuries, unpredictability. It's not baseball. These guys get hurt. It's a game of attrition.
Right. Not only that, but even as something as like, look at what happened to the Saints in a couple of years ago, and they got the call, didn't get the call, and then they did go to the Super Bowl. There's so many things in football that can go wrong. You're not playing a 7-game series. You're playing one game. So
the best team doesn't necessarily advance. Things like that.
You don't. So putting all your eggs in one basket, it's to me, it's not the greatest idea. I think you have to attack it from a longer term perspective, and I think the most successful teams do. If you look at New England, we can all say they had Tom Brady, but if you look at what else they did, the other things they did to help supplant him, I think that they took their opportunities that they took were smart opportunities. They chose their spots where they were going to take an opportunity, and they were smart ones.
Right. Like they, instead of having a roster with 5 or 6 elite players like Dallas often has, they would have Brady and Gronk and Edelman and basically a bunch of mid-level players.
Right.
So they would have like a middle class on their team and depth, and it always worked for them.
Yeah. Right. And how often can you think back when Bill Belichick trading away his first round picks? He was always trading for more.
Right. Trading down, getting more, accumulating more.
Accumulated and trying and trade away his players like Chandler
Jones, yeah,
Richard
Seymour.
Those are Richard Seymour was an All-Pro player for
Yes.
2 years in a row. He was very, very good.
Borderline Hall of Famer on the ballot. Chandler Jones probably will be one day too. I mean, he gets 20 sacks a year. Serious players. Sorry, we can't pay everyone. It's like you don't want 65% of your salary cap tied into 5 players. What if 2 of them get hurt? Now your team, you don't have a team.
Right. So
and that's really that's the Rams right now. Everyone's excited about the Rams, but hold on, real quick, look at their roster structure. $22 million is dedicated this year to Goff.
Right.
Okay. And then 20 more is to Stafford. 20 more is to Donald. That's 3 players. Only 2 of them are on your team. I don't think it's going to work for the Rams. They might make it to the playoffs. I just don't think the ultimate goal is going to pay off.
You don't win games in the offseason. You win games. You actually win them on the field.
And the thing about McVay comes from Washington.
He does come from Washington.
And worked with Bruce Allen. I'm just saying, Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
And I mean, if you look at that the whole Rams thing, and you compare it to the Garoppolo, the Niners set themselves up better. Both teams gave a contract to a quarterback they shouldn't have. But if you look at how the Niners did it versus how the Rams did it, when the Niners cut Jimmy, if they do, hopefully they do, or trade him, they're not going to their cap hit is not going to be what the Rams cap hit is going to be. It's not going to.
$22 million dead cap hit, and the Rams were like, yes, that is the best we can do. The Niners are going to have 2.4. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
and that's the benefit of going brick by brick. The Rams traded 6 picks just to get Goff. Then they gave him this ridiculous contract just to justify the investment. And then they had to do all this to get rid of him. At least the Niners don't necessarily compound big mistakes. They compound little ones, like Dante Pettis becomes 8 picks, but they're all like, they're not major picks, but it's like the Dante Pettis problem persisted forever.
There's definitely in their roster building, there's definitely some things that they can correct. I think the first thing they need to do is they need to take players that have injury history and that is a priority and take them off their board. Or if
for a year or two, just to cleanse the roster. Stop doing that. Yeah.
Not just in draft, but in free agency. Like anywhere, unless you're paying a guy, unless you're not going to give a guy a big contract, or you're drafting a guy in like the 4th round, don't do it.
Yeah. The Jason Verrett contract, fine. 4th, 5th round, fine. That's the time, but not in round 1, not in round 2. Dear God. Yeah, so that would be a lesson to learn from the brick by brick. You want solid bricks, especially.
Yeah.
Foundational ones.
You don't want them crumbling as you put it.
No. You don't want Adobe. No, I don't know. Maybe Adobe's fine. I don't know about that. Okay, but let's change the subject a little bit to we agree on this. I don't think I'm going to be arguing with you much today. What I want to ask is your opinion on the value of first-round picks. Again, I think Niner fans are at the point where they're like, you know what? Why are we hoarding these picks so we can just draft the next Mike McGlinchey / Solomon Thomas / Reuben Foster? Really, are they that valuable? Because the Rams don't seem to think so. And look at them. They have superstars. So what's going on?
First-round picks are actually very valuable. If you look throughout the league and on NFL rosters, the majority of the rosters and your best players are first-round picks. I mean, we all have this notion, I think, that first-round picks can bust, but the majority of them don't necessarily bust. They're not. They might not necessarily end up being superstars, but they're on rosters and they end up being good players. I remember particularly in Walsh's book, Finding the Winning Edge, when he talks about first-round picks, he actually talks about this and how there's you pick a guy in the first round and he's got to be like some superstar or whatever. No, really, he just has to be a player that contributes on your roster,
a starter.
Yeah, and if he contributes and can do something to improve your team that you need, then that's a successful pick. And I look back, I actually found a study by a guy that wrote on Forbes, and it was a study back in 2015, and back in 2014 from the 2014 NFL season, 30% of the league starters were first round picks. And then it went back, and then it went to the second round was 18%, and then the third is 12. Then if you talk about the percentage of guys are reaching the Pro Bowl status and where they're picked, 49% were picked in the first round.
What was that?
49% of guys that went in All Pro from 2002 to 2014.
49?
49.
Is it almost 50? Jeez.
Almost 50%. Now, I checked the roster this year for the All Pro guys this year, and 10 of the All Pro team this year were first round picks. So it does amount to about the same. I don't know I didn't do the percentage on it, but
10 of 22. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about right. So first round picks are important, and then the other component
if you're missing on first round picks consistently, that says more about you than it says about the picks. Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is when you hit on a first round pick, when he's an All Pro, and you get him for 5 years on his rookie deal. Or I think you get 4 years, then you get the option. I think the option year actually ends up being
4 years, and that's this thing. Like the 5th-year option is nice, but any pick you get 4 years at cheap labor. Look at Kittle. Look at Warner. 3 years minimum before that extension. 3 years minimum.
Right.
Bosa.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that option year, it ends up being cheaper than giving the guy the contract. So that option year as a first round pick, it is important. That's why.
How many guys did the Niners have like that when they were in the Super Bowl last year? Let's just count. I mean,
Bosa, Buckner,
Armstead,
first round picks. They're all the D-line.
Armstead. Yeah, but I mean, ones that mattered. Bosa, Buckner, Armstead, Kittle, Debo. I mean, I'm not gonna say McGlinchey. But I mean, the core of the team were guys on rookie deals, and now all those guys have been paid. It's a different team now.
Right. Greenlaw.
Yes, absolutely. Yup.
Mosley.
Yup.
Undrafted free agent.
Yep.
I can't remember. Was Ward? Ward was signed on a 1 year deal.
But he was on, but it was cheap. It was probably like a 1 year, $5 million deal. But yeah, still, Tart was cheap.
Tart was so, and if you're just talking about first round picks, those first was Armstead, Bosa, before Buckner.
Yeah,
those are three big names that were on their rookie deals. In that
plus Warner, plus Kittle, plus Debo. Right. I mean, that's 6 guys. That's the core of your team. 6 guys.
Yeah.
That's why they're in the Super Bowl. Really right there.
The draft and first round picks are important. First round picks do end up being the core of the best players in the NFL.
Here's how the NFL is set up. If you're bad enough, you get to draft in the top 5 or 10 every year. And if you're not horrible at drafting, you'll just end up with a good team eventually.
Yeah.
Look at Cleveland. Look at the Niners. Look at Jacksonville. I mean, it happens. As long as you're not just terrible at drafting, you get a good team.
As long as you don't take the Solomon Thomases of the world, then you're good. Now, if you want to talk about quarterbacks, there's a higher bust rate with quarterbacks. But when you're talking about other players, not really.
And why is the bust rate higher at quarterback?
What?
Why? I can tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because teams are reaching.
Yeah, I think that to me, I think it's just quarterbacks. It's just so much that goes into that position. It's just so it's
to me, it's like these teams like I need a quarterback. It's the most important position. I need a quarterback. This guy kind of looks like a franchise guy. I'm going to inflate the draft grade to whatever, because he's a quarterback. I need him. And this guy's an inside linebacker who would necessarily probably be better than him, but inside linebacker. That's the way I look at it.
That probably plays into it. I just think it's just a difficult thing that it's really so difficult to scout. I mean, you can scout the physical ability at certain abilities, but other things can be more difficult, a lot more difficult.
True, because so much depends on offensive line, their playmakers, and the scheme, the play calling. It's like you guys just executing what he's being asked to do. You know, do you want him to go off script and have a better? It's like there's only so much a guy can do. Certain,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And look at, for instance, like, you know, we have different opinions on Zach Wilson. You know, like when you look at a guy at Zach Wilson, how is he really translate? You say, okay, well, he plays and he hardly gets pressured. So he doesn't play against top competition. So how is that going to translate? Then you look at a guy like Mac Jones in Alabama, like he's got the best weapons in, you know, the discrepancy between his weapons and the next team's weapons, it's pretty massive. So then he's not going to have that big discrepancy in the NFL when he jumps to the NFL. So like, how is he going to adjust to that? Like, how does that play out? Like,
Agree.
How I don't think they gave
so hard. It's so hard. There's so many questions and variables and things you got to look at. Like, we haven't even gotten into the physical characteristics. How do you throw down the field? How do you throw left? How do you throw right? What is your touch like? All this like a million. Can you run? Can you see the field? How do you operate in the pocket? Can you extend a play? And then there's all this other stuff on top of it. What was your supporting cast? What was the level of competition? How much experience do you have? What was the system you were in? It's just like, how smart are you? Like all this stuff that go into it's very, very different.
How much work are you gonna put in? You know, are you gonna be on that? Are you gonna be in the playbook all the time, or are you gonna like blowing your money?
Are you gonna be the kind of guy who changes when you get money? Are you gonna be the kind of guy who changes when you get fame? No one knows.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't know. Yeah.
And they can scout the physical tools. I mean, if you look at it, the majority of the starting NFL quarterbacks are first-round picks. So the NFL knows what they're looking for, but there's just an intangibility that it's very difficult to scout that you can't. Now,
they're kids. We forget that. They're kids.
And as years go by, like we might start seeing a lot of success. Like we've talked about before, how the middle of the field is open. I think the door's open for rookie QBs to have a lot more success. And your whole philosophy of drafting a guy and then letting him walk might end up working. And as
seems to me that every year there's more and more rookie quarterbacks who step in or at least average starters. So why are you paying Jimmy Garoppolo money for average when you can get it, you know, on a rookie deal pretty easily?
I think so. If they can find the guy, let's be honest. It shouldn't be that difficult if they had the exact same roster from their Super Bowl year and they were able to put in a version of Jimmy Garoppolo that could actually throw the ball deep, they probably would win the Super Bowl. But you know, you're not,
or just a quarterback who doesn't totally freaking melt down in the fourth quarter of the biggest game of his life with a 10-point lead. I mean, that's all. I mean, if you could hit the pass to Emmanuel Sanders, that'd be great. But there were so many other plays along the way that he could have made that would have made that. So many.
Without a doubt. I was watching some of your video yesterday with Anthony, and I think there was a play where Jimmy audibles and he throws a slant, but if he looked there, the bubble, there's a guy running a bubble route wide open.
Good call.
Didn't even look. And
again, in that situation, Jimmy, you should know, like, the whole idea is keep the clock freaking moving. I know you think you can hit this throw over the middle, but you should be looking for handoffs and extended handoffs here, buddy, especially because you're 2 for 11 right now. Anyway, we got a couple questions, and then we can get back to our topic. Jaeger05 says, do you see the Raiders as a major threat to the Niners to land Watson? I'd rather trade these picks since no combine this year. All of a sudden, the Raiders are in play, and they have a tax-free state. So maybe. Also, it seems like if I were 25, I'd be kind of into playing in Vegas. So maybe they're a destination.
I think they are. I think if I look at it a different way, I'm not big on Watson because I think if the Niners got Watson, I don't think that it would give them any greater chance as of they have right now to go to the Super Bowl. I think
they would gut the team, right?
They would gut the team, exactly. So it wouldn't put them in a great position. Now, do I think the Raiders are in play for Watson if they do trade him? I do, because if you look at the guy who's coaching it, it's Gruden, and you look at how much, what's his deal? Didn't he get like a 6 or 7 year deal? A lot of money. So
no. 10. 10.
Oh, 10 years.
10.
10. Okay.
10. Yes.
So that deal tells you he's got a lot of power in that organization. So if he wants Watson, he would have the ability to go get him.
True, because if he's mortgaging the future, he's mortgaging his future. Go ahead, do what you want to do. Right. So it seems like actually the Raiders absolutely are a major threat to the Niners to land Watson in the sense that they could, and the Niners probably won't.
And I think we kind of tie this to the roster building conversation, is because what you do when you roster build is you look for very good opportunities where you can take advantage of them. Let's just say they need to unload Carr, right? So there's been rumors that they see these first round picks get unloaded by Stafford or for Stafford. So now Gruden wants them for Carr. Now, if people are willing to pay them, but that price goes down for Carr, and he really wants Watson, can you sneak in and get Carr on the cheap, and can you get him for a third? Or I don't know.
I'd be interested. It just seems like with George Kittle coming out, would I don't know. It also seems like maybe 7 people in the NFL like Derek Carr. He's a very unlikable person. I just feel like there might be some raised eyebrows, and then I'm like, really, Derek Carr?
It depends. For me, it would depend on Carr. It would depend what you get him for. Do I want to trade a first round pick? No, but for a third,
I'm into it. Yeah, he's better than Jimmy. I like it. I do. No, I would do that. I would. So that's the way I look at it. Is like, instead of getting Watson, maybe you could slide in and get Carr, and make it a 3-way trade. Watson goes to the Raiders, Carr goes to the Niners, Jimmy goes to Houston.
Yeah.
How about that? A little 3-way deal? That works for me. Yeah. And then the night everyone could throw their picks over to Houston, and I don't know how that works, but it seems like Watson could play behind a hell of an offensive line, and he could throw to Darren Waller and Henry Ruggs, hand off to it works.
Yeah, and lose to Patrick Mahomes in the wild card.
Hell of a division though, with Herbert too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Drew Lock. Oh. All right. Andrew Mayberry says Gardner Minshew with 4 question marks. Already has better pocket presence and arm than Jimmy G, and he's cute. I'm over Gardner Minshew. I don't know about you. To me, he's a starter because Tiger King was a show.
Minshew doesn't do it for me. He was a nice little story in his past, and was he undrafted or 7th round or something like that? But if Garvin,
he's a caricature.
If Gardner Minshew was a thing, if Gardner Minshew was NFL caliber quarterback, the Jags wouldn't be picking one.
Right. And if Gardner Minshew didn't have that stupid thing with the shirt open and the mustache, he wouldn't be marketable. He wouldn't have been playing as long as he was. That they wasted a year in Jacksonville with Gardner Minshew. They did not draft a quarterback last year. Like, no, let's just give this Gardner guy a shot. No, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It might end up working out for them because they're going to get Trevor Lawrence, but
didn't work out for Doug Marrone, but it's going to work out for someone over there. The more I think about it, the Niners should have given their first for Stafford. You can't compare the impact Stafford would have versus an O-line or a corner. This is a good question. Back to our topic. Should they have given up 12? Well, 12 wouldn't have gotten it done. Let's just be clear. Carolina offered 8, the 8th pick, and the Rams offered 2 firsts and a third and a player.
I was talking to my friend about this, and I don't necessarily believe some of these reports about what was offered to them. It seems nuts that Detroit would turn down Carolina. Yeah. Carolina's offer
to take future firsts, and Goff. You really wanted Goff, huh? You really wanted Goff.
I definitely question some of that because it just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
So offer first for Stafford. If they had done it, if they had offered the 12 for Stafford, I wouldn't have really felt great about it. I would have preferred to give them a first round next year. I'd prefer to give them something in the mid round, but not necessarily the 12. I wouldn't feel that great about it. We've talked about this in the last cast. No. Stafford, to me, there's something missing there that he just doesn't seem to be able to propel his team to the next level. And I think in the NFL, you need your quarterbacks to be able to do that, especially if you're talking about you want them to be that franchise guy. And
isn't that what people like about Watson? I mean, before he became the starter in Houston, every quarterback that played behind that O-line got hurt like within a day. And he went behind it and was like, oh, no problem anymore. 50-yard touchdown pass. It's like, yeah, like he makes the offensive line look better. He makes Will Fuller look better. He makes these guys look good. Peyton Manning made guys look good. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady made no-name offensive linemen look good for decades. What does Matthew Stafford do? I mean, he had put up great numbers with Calvin Johnson, but I don't know. That's why I kind of compare him to Andy Dalton, like much more physically gifted, but in terms of their actual resume, same. You know, one guy played with AJ Green, one guy played with Calvin Johnson. One guy put up more yards. Neither guy ever won a playoff game. I don't know, but one guy does it in style.
Right. In a division where, if you look at it, that division, it's not like the NFC North was that great. There was Green Bay, who's consistently good because of
flawed.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
Right. Aaron Rodgers. So, and you couldn't make it to the playoffs at all. You couldn't even make it. Like, you got there 3 times and lost, and you couldn't have made it any other time.
I'm not saying he's bad. I just don't think he's not tier 1. I don't even think he's tier 2. I think he's tier 3.
Yeah. And
you know,
and I think other teams share that perspective, because to me it looks like that's why they had to take that deal, because why would you take that deal if Carolina was offering what Carolina offered? If they had these other supposed deals on the table, why would you take that deal? It just doesn't make unearthly sense.
Like for example, let's compare him to a quarterback who was also a number 1 pick and is not nearly as physically gifted, but Alex Smith. All right, this dude goes to Washington, which freaking stinks, and he gets hurt. But he started 16 games for Washington in his career and won 11 of them. Would Stafford do that? I don't know. I mean, how much worse of an organization is Detroit than Washington? I don't know. It just seems like Alex Smith, there are these quarterbacks who have an ability to at least elevate a team to a certain degree, and Stafford's kind of like held back by, I don't know. We'll see.
I think the thing with quarterbacks and is what you don't get to see, we call it an intangible thing, but we see them in game, right? But leadership doesn't necessarily happen in a game. It happens in practice. It happens around the facility and all of that. We see Tampa Bay with, Brady changing.
Yes.
Is Stafford a guy that comes in, and what sort of leadership does he portray around the facilities?
Are you talking about accountability?
The accountability.
That's what we're talking about.
Accountability,
and that's Brady. Brady can be like, hey, man, you didn't run that route hard enough. You didn't run this rep hard enough. And he does it all the time. He'll get in guys' faces mid-game. Is that Stafford's personality, or is he more like Jimmy, who's just kind of doing his thing?
And this is part of why I'm a big Ryan guy. I tweeted out, there's a film clip of him, I think it was on a Monday Night Football game, where he's telling the receiver, get effing set. Like, you can on the audio, That's the accountability and the leadership that he has. I don't know that Stafford has that. I may be totally wrong. I'm not in their facility or anything, but I don't know that he has that. To me, he seems like, all right, he comes in, does his thing, and then plays in the game and then leaves.
Keeps his head down, doesn't say much, but like, are you taking ownership of the team and the organization the way a franchise quarterback who's made $200 million should?
Right. Because
you're not a passenger on this team, dude. It's your team. It's your team.
Right. You are the team. Like,
you're the team. It's not the head coach's team. It's you. You're the face. You're the man, dude. Either take control or not. He's been there since I was in college, man. He's been there forever. Nothing ever. I don't know. We'll see. I think Sean McVay played himself a little bit. I think Sean McVay was like, with me, nah, man, you're not that great. And wouldn't it be great if Jared Goff went to Detroit and played well? And I just would love that, because people with big egos, I loved seeing it. McVay says McVay showing no mercy. Stafford unleashed in LA. Hey, well, gentlemen, how much did Steve Young propel the Bucs when he was there? Stafford is now with McVay and that defense. It's on and popping in LA. We got a Rams fan in the house.
Well, I mean, Steve Young was an unpolished product when he was in Tampa Bay.
That's correct. He was a running back.
He was right. So
he was a running back.
Walsh had to take him and fix him, and
Yes.
and then he became the Steve Young that we all as Niner fans love. But that's not really a great comparison. Also, the game was more difficult back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a Rams fan, you should be excited. I think Stafford is better than Goff, but hang on.
It's just the Detroit pass kills me, man. Like he never had much. He had Calvin Johnson, and then he had Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, and now he has Kenny Golladay. Like primary, man.
He had better receivers in Detroit than he's gonna have right now. And
yeah, like no one gives Andy Dalton the Cincinnati pass. Who was Andy Dalton's running back? And Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard. Whew.
I think and Eric Ebron left and went to the Steelers and started to be actually like better.
That's right. He was actually good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he go somewhere else too before that? He was in there. He was in Indy. Indy. No, and he had a great year with Andrew Luck.
Right. Now, see that's a guy. Andrew Luck is the guy that's underrated. Andrew Luck was a phenomenal quarterback that really was not on those Indy teams were not that great, and he was propelling them to the playoffs. And there's the amount of hits that he took are crazy.
And I think that's the thing. Like, it's because of the intangible. Andrew Luck was demonstrably off the chart in that whatever that intangible thing was, and that was clear in college. And I think it's pretty clear that Stafford just isn't. He's off the charts physically. His arm is as good as anyone's, I guess. Anyone's. Yeah. And yet, despite that leg up, he's just like a top, maybe he's the 11th best quarterback in the league. Yeah, he lacks that intangible quality. Must be. Or he'll win the Super Bowl and McVay showing no mercy, Stafford unleashed in LA. We'll have the last laugh. You paid $5. Maybe you're right. Thank you very much.
Right. But it's Super Bowl. The only that gamble only pays off for a Super Bowl. If you make the playoffs or you win the NFC West. And
to me, it's like it ain't going to pay off in a Super Bowl this year because of the Goff dead cap hit. So now your better shot is 2022. All right, you better make it happen in 2022. You got a 1-year window. We'll see.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Maybe I guess Tom Brady will be 45 at that point. Aaron Rodgers will be 40. Hey, it could happen, but at that point, the Niners will have Deshaun Watson, and all bets will be off. So sorry. No, I'm just kidding. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Or Kyle Trask.
Or Kyle Trask. I've been watching a lot more of these players, and I love Kyle Trask. I love the way he moves in the pocket. I like his urgency and his time clock. He was under pressure more than the other quarterbacks, and it shows. He just has a good feel for it. That being said, he plays with Kyle Pitts, coach.
Well, those are my.
That's the thing
with Kyle
plays with Kyle Pitts.
He plays with 2 first round. I think he's gonna have 2.
Tony and the guy Grimes is good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I look back historically, I don't think there's been a quarterback that a quarterback that's had success has that much talent around.
Burrow.
Maybe.
Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow. But
Burrow.
Only 1 year. So I want to see how he plays out. I mean, Deshaun a little bit, but I don't know. If
mostly Burrow, because he had Chase and Jefferson and Clyde's Edward-Helaire. But yeah, to me it's another reason why it's so hard to judge these guys. You watch them, I'm like, yeah, but what if Kellen Mond had Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney? Like, what if Kellen Mond had Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and Jalen Waddle and blah 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 blah? He might look pretty good.
If they draft Trask in the second or third round, then it's not, to me, it's whatever. It's not a problem.
It's not a problem. Also, if they draft Mond in the second or third round, that's cool too. I just don't like Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I'll say that right now. But yeah, I think he's gonna like get overhyped and be a first round pick. That's the beauty of it.
He might. He might. I know that even before the Senior Bowl, there was talk that scouts were going to love him and he was going to fly up boards, and that seems to be happening now. So we could very.
You see, like when I watch him play, it's like here's a Mac Jones highlight. No, that's a Devontae Smith highlight. No, that's a Najee Harris highlight. Like I don't know.
And it seems like now with the teams that need quarterbacks, the Colts are kind of stuck in the lurk, and the Niners want to make you believe that they're not stuck in the lurk, but they need a quarterback. So is that going to make a team make a desperate move? I don't think it'll be the Niners, but you never know.
No. What do you think the Jets do at quarterback? What's their plan? Because and this, I'm going to tie this into the Niners in a second, but just answer the question first.
That's I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna go Wilson, but I don't know. I think they're gonna go Wilson or try to push hard for, or if they can get Watson and not have to give up a lot, too much. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I don't know that though. Maybe they stay with not Stafford.
Darnold.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're
I
gonna
feel
go
bad for Zach Wilson if he has to go play with the Jets, dude. That team. Nothing against Robert Saleh. It's just, where are the playmakers on offense? They don't have them. My God. And to me, it's like Sam Darnold. I mean, he might be a bust. He might be one of these first round busts, but he has nothing there. And if he would put him at BYU, I think he would have looked really, really, really good. He looked good at USC the second year without Juju. He didn't look good, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me, I don't like Sam Darnold had an interception an interception problem
And a fumbling problem.
And it seems to have found its way into the NFL as well. So
he's got a little Jameis Winston.
Yeah, so that just seems to be part of his.
That's true.
Part of who he is as a player now.
That's true.
By miracle, get coached out of it. I don't know, but I certainly would want to give a first for him.
I just feel like the Jets, you're setting up the next quarterback to fail. I mean, Zach Wilson may have it, but God, that's just the Jets.
The one that they do have is they have their left tackle. So key piece, he's on a rookie deal. What you could do is they have cap space too. If you drafted a guy, like what I would do is if I drafted Wilson, I would don't do what they do to Andrew Luck. Put an offensive line around him first, protect your asset, and get him a couple weapons, but invest money in the offensive line first. If he's throwing to receivers and they're not open, that's one thing, but don't get the kid killed.
See, to me, the only reason I've brought this up to you before, and you don't like the idea, but I just feel like you could sell Bosa back to Saleh. Like, hey, come on, he's great, man. Give me 2 first, man. Give me that second and a third. Give me that second overall pick and I don't know. I would just float. Like, who knows? Maybe Saleh. I don't know. Maybe not.
Can we do it in 2 or 3 years before we have to pay him?
That's true. He just has that number 2 pick now. You're right though. You're right. Hold on. Tyler says, wouldn't Wentz be a perfect option for us? Wentz is trending today.
That's interesting because I was looking at he was trending and I started to look at his contract. Did you know that Wentz is 29? Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That's crazy. Isn't Kittle like 28 too? A lot of these like 25-year-old rookies. Yeah, Carson Wentz might have been 25 when he was a rookie. Age. He go on a Mormon mission? No, he's 28. He's 28. But he's gonna be 29 next season.
Okay. When I looked at on OTC, it said 29.
Okay.
His cap number seems to be favorable if they can pull it off. I think post-June. And I don't know if the Eagles are really interested in that, but again, everything's dependent upon the price. What are they gonna have to give up for Wentz? Dude,
Wentz might be one of these guys where they would pay you to take him, man. I mean, they had a major problem with him on the books. Major. His cap number this year is 34.6. They got to do something. And if they trade him post June 1, they only have 9.2 in dead cap.
So again, this all ties into roster building, right? Because what you want to do when you're building a roster, you want to sit back and let the other teams get desperate and have them make the mistakes, let them overpay, and so that you can take advantage of situations. Put yourself in a desperate situation. Like let's say June 1 hits and the Eagles need to unload whatever. So they're just looking around and okay, the Niners off, for a 2 and a 3 or whatever. I mean, I'm not even opposed to offering a 22 first for a potential quarterback because to me, the value of the first round in 2022, it's not as much as it is here because the cap lower this year. The Niners, if you give them a quarterback and plus they're going to have all the picks that they have this year, they should be able to put together a better roster and probably at least make the playoffs. In which case, that pick in 22 would be higher, and it wouldn't have as much value. And plus, the Niners would have a bunch of cap space in 2022, so you could maneuver your roster around it. Now, I wouldn't give 2 firsts, but potentially a first in 2022 for a guy that you think that you know could be at least your starter for that year, I don't think it's terrible.
How about Wentz for Jimmy straight up?
I'd do it.
I would do it. Would Philly do it? Remember, you're doing them a favor taking this dude off their hands. You're doing them a favor. They got to help you out to take this dude off our hands, man. Come on.
And I don't know how Philly really feels about Wentz. You know, like they got rid of their coach, but that move seemed to be like it was for Carson Wentz. Now could Carson Wentz?
It doesn't seem like the locker rooms had his back. It seemed like they were kind of in with Jalen Hurts. This guy seems kind of aloof and out. I don't know what's going on with Wentz over there, but it didn't seem like there were a lot of people on the Eagles like, "Hey, give him a chance." Didn't seem like that.
That's an interesting one. I think there's potential there, but for the right price. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the price. First of all, we could start at Jimmy. I would say yes.
Yeah,
Jimmy in a pick. Jimmy in a day 3 pick. Yes, I just don't think Wentz has any value. I don't know if Jimmy has. Jimmy seems to have negative value. Wentz seems to have negative value. I don't know who has more negative value, but it seems like kind of like when the Niners traded AJ Jenkins to the Chiefs for John Baldwin. It's like, hey, why not? You know, let's do something like that. You don't like that guy. I don't like this guy. Can't we?
They're both injury prone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from the Eagles' perspective, you get rid of Wentz and you get back a quarterback who can start if Jalen Hurts isn't ready, because I'm not sure about Jalen Hurts, and is easy to move off of if they want to down the line, which is the whole perk with his thing. And from the Niners' perspective, you get, someone who can throw downfield.
Right. And maybe he can play up to his MVP level.
And I don't watch the Eagles that carefully, but I was at Levi's when he beat the Niners, and I was quite impressed. To me, he did it basically single-handedly. He was throwing to Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward. I mean, and he had no offensive line. Every time he basically had to break the pocket, which Eric Armstead was more than willing to let him do. Like, go ahead right here, just go out and run out here. And then he would run out and just make these amazing throws on the. He's a really good athlete.
Yeah, he's a talent. He's definitely a talent.
He do so much more than Jimmy.
Right. No, but there's a lot of people that can do more.
That's true. But I mean, like physically, you put him up against Matthew Stafford. I mean, he compares.
Oh, without a doubt, he compares.
So yeah, Wentz, I'm into it. Jimmy for Wentz straight up. I'm gonna try to make this a movement. I wouldn't give up many picks for him though. It seems like there's a major issues there, like the same issues Jimmy has. Is he aloof now that he's made $100 million? Does he still love the game?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Not good stuff.
Are you gonna get hurt?
Chris Royal says, I feel like if we can't land Watson or Rodgers, if available, we should stick with Jimmy and draft a quarterback who potentially could take the lead if he struggles.
I don't think you can stick with Jimmy G. I think he counts too much against the cap, which would inhibit you from signing other players. To me, you got to rip the Band-Aid off. If you can't trade him, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and sign Fitzpatrick. And
here's why you can't stay with Jimmy G, because they can't afford another losing season. Kyle, you can't have 4 losing seasons in 5 years. And if you bring back Jimmy G, there's a very big possibility that he gets hurt again. And they've shown they can't win with their backups. So I think it's really important that they get a starting quarterback who can play 16 games. Starting quarterback, 16 games.
Yeah.
So
availability.
Yeah. I mean, if that's Fitzpatrick, if that's Dalton, if that's Wentz, Carr, whoever, Shanahan seems like he's good enough to win. He just needs a starting quarterback who's healthy. Is that so much to ask? Usually starting quarterbacks are healthy. Really? I mean, all the rules protect them, dude. They're not allowed to touch you.
And the thing about it, it's not the same injury. There's all different. Like first when he was in New England, wasn't it his shoulder? Was it a shoulder injury? Right. Then it was the ACL, and the ACL was preventable because he made a bad decision.
He cut back.
Right. Yeah. Then that's ankle. So there's definitely something to it there. He gets injured too much. Thank you. Not for $27 million either.
No, I would bring in a Bridge, draft a quarterback. A Bridge, I think Fitzpatrick would be terrific. I saw him in person this year. It's way better than Jimmy G. He's faster. He's more daring. He's more aggressive. Andy Dalton, I'd be cool. Any 1-year deal, any guy for like 1 year, $4 million, I'd be cool with that. And then I really think Rodgers is going to be available next year. I think that's going to come to a head. It almost came to a head this year, but next year there's an out in his contract. They have Jordan Love. Unless they're willing to extend his deal, which they haven't been willing to do, I think they're going to have to move him next year, and the Niners should be waiting for that one.
If something doesn't happen now, let's say with Watson or something like that, I think Watson's really the only one that's kind of available right now, even though it's not. Or I would expect them probably to sign a veteran in free agency, and then probably draft a quarterback, and then take a look at what happens on June 1. Because remember, June 1 is going to be a big date this year. A lot of free to be cut. A lot of guys are going to be moved. So they might.
It's going to be the second wave of free agency.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be free agency number 2. And so a guy like Wentz might be available at that time. A guy like Matt Ryan might be available at that time. And Rodgers might be available at that time. Which at that point, then the Niners can make and pounce on an opportunity.
So if you were John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, would your game plan be pump up Jimmy for the next 5 months, say how much you like him, and then by June 1, hope you can be opportunistic with some of these guys becoming available, and maybe people bought it that you said you liked him for 5 months?
My game plan would actually be pump him up until right before free agency.
Okay.
And then cut him then, because you need that money, because if you're not gonna trade,
I see. So it's a bluff. It's a bluff.
To me,
you bluff it, and then free agency starts like, okay, I cut you. You're out. I tried.
Because what you're gonna let Trent Williams and Jason Verrett walk because you want to pump up and get some value back for Jimmy G. To me, I'd rather be able to at least sign at least Verrett to come back with that extra money and cut him now. I mean, that's to me, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think the league kind of knows what Jimmy G is, and what we just talked about. The league has seen that he doesn't play in games. He's injury prone. Why would you want to trade for that?
And that's why he has less value than Goff.
Absolutely. I think if he hadn't played well these last couple of years, he'd have a lot more trade value, because people would think, oh, I can fix that. But
you can't fix injury prone.
No, you can't.
T-Money Sacktown says, bring Alex Smith back to San Francisco. I love the idea. I just think he's going to keep getting hurt. We're talking about Jimmy being hurt. This guy couldn't play in the playoff game. He couldn't play.
Yeah, I liked the idea a couple months ago. Then he got hurt again, and no.
I don't think so. But good question. Matthew says, is the value of this year's first-round picks diminished because of lack of collegiate seasons and no combine?
No, I think the value of these first-round picks this year has gone up because the salary cap has dropped. So, teams remember, draft picks are cheap labor. Okay, they're cheap labor. You get new rookies. Especially first-round picks.
They're indentured servants, is basically what we're saying.
Yeah. Yes. Right. So I think it's more valuable, and that's why I think that Detroit didn't get all those offers, because I think teams are really reluctant to give away first-round picks this year. I don't believe those reports that all that was offered, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, when the cap goes down, the value of that rookie wage scale goes up.
Yep.
It's a great year to have a lot of picks, which the Niners do. They have a lot of day 3 picks and whatnots and comps.
They do.
They do.
All right.
If you got any more questions, we could take them. Otherwise, we're about 45 minutes in, and it's about time that we wrap it up. Son of Man says sign Cap. I don't think that's going to happen. Noah, what do you think?
No, I think Cap's not. The Niners had him, and he played. If he gets signed by anyone, I don't believe he'll get signed here. Kyle clearly doesn't want him as a quarterback, and I don't think it has any. The reason why Kyle doesn't want him has nothing to do with his off the field stuff. I think it has to do with who he is as a player. So no, I don't think Cap is an option. I don't really see him back in the league. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Final question. I'm going to let you go. And this is, you don't know, I haven't prepared you for this one. Who's calling me? Hold
on. Your father.
No, it's a spam risk. I don't answer those.
Yeah.
All right, final question. Predict on February 4th, which quarterback will Kyle Shanahan fall in love with in draft this year? Who's his CJ Beathard? I want you to tell me. And why? And again, this is February 4th. You don't have to get this right. I'm just your best guess a couple months before it happens. And we can adjust later.
I thought Mac Jones before, but I think he might go a little high. Please don't. I think along with the two names, the Kyle Trask one and your Kellen Mond, I think
one of the two.
Mac Jones. I think those three guys.
One of those three. I think it's going to be Mond, and I'm going to say why. I think Kyle is going to get someone that he perceives it to be mobile and a project. I don't know why I have that feeling. Maybe it's because they brought in Josh Johnston. I feel like Mostert made a comment about, mobile. I feel like he understands that the offensive line is trash and that pass protection is always going to be an issue because of the way they build their roster and that they're looking for run blockers first. And I think he may finally accept that he needs a little mobility and he looks at Mond as a worthwhile project in round 2. That's what I'm guessing, but maybe he's just going to go with Trask and make the right choice. So we'll see.
We'll see. I do think.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know. He's probably going to wait until round 3 and take someone I've never heard of.
Probably that was what I was going to say. I think he's going to take the CJ Beathard of this year's bet. You're going to be like, whoa, who is this guy? Like
what? Were you at the Shrine game? Like who are you?
Yeah. So
some guy we haven't heard of is our official guest. I think that's fair.
Whoever he takes, hopefully he's right about it. Yeah.
See, to me, it's just totally in Shanahan's personality to be like, I'm not going to take a quarterback any higher than I took Beathard. I'm going to bring back Mullins, bring back Jimmy, let Beathard go, and just draft another guy in that spot and say that's where I take my backups.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully he's right. And think about it. And the quarterbacks that he passes up don't have success. Like for instance, just if he passes up, for let's just use like Trey Lance for example. If he passes up Trey Lance and Trey Lance ends up being,
that's the final straw. It's the final straw. You passed on too many studs.
And then especially if he's like, nah, we didn't really scout Trey Lance because we knew that we could go trade for Matt Ryan in the summer. Like
the other bad thing that could happen is they draft Trey Lance because they're afraid of passing on the next Patrick Mahomes, and they end up drafting a bust because they pass on Mahomes. That's the other bad thing that could happen.
Yeah, you can't draft out of fear, and you talked about that.
Oh, I'm afraid of him being great. And what if we pass on the next Mahomes? We already passed on the first Mahomes. Like,
if I know you're not a fan of Lance, and a lot of people aren't. If you draft Lance, you have to draft him because you really do think he's going to be great. Don't draft him because you think you're afraid that you're afraid what he might be. But
because you'll ruin him. You need to believe in him and help him, give him a chance.
Right.
You just take him because you're afraid to get criticized.
And Kyle should be scouting every quarterback in this draft. Not like unless Patrick Mahomes is on your roster or Deshaun Watson, you should be scouting every quarterback in every draft to get that guy.
Yeah.
So that's what they need to do every year until they find their guy.
Have you watched Sam Ehlinger much? Because I haven't.
I'm not a big fan of Ehlinger. Nah, doesn't do it for me.
Nope.
It's 7th round pick, maybe an extra quarterback on your roster.
Yeah.
And I just want to put this in everyone's mind with Mahomes. Remember the position the Chiefs were in when they took that chance on Mahomes. They had Alex Smith. They moved up in the 27th to the 12th to get him, paid a first round pick and the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a pretty steep price, the first round pick and the 3rd. But if Mahomes was a bust, they still had a quarterback. So those are the risks you want to take. And you take a risk when you're in a position where if you lose, it's not that big of a deal. If Mahomes was a bust, they would still have Alex Smith. They'd still be a good team. They wouldn't have gone to the Super Bowl, but they would at least contend and be good in that division. And until they find the quarterback of the future to replace Alex Smith.
Oh, good stuff, man. This was a good show. I like having you on. Thanks for breaking down brick by brick versus all-in mentality. I think this is an important podcast for people to watch. Niner fans, they're getting a little Rams envy right now, and you don't need to have it.
It's only Mark.
The Niners are doing it right. They just need to get the quarterback. There's and the way I look at it is like there's no shortcut. There's no way around it. Unless Tom Brady says, I want to play for you, then you say yes. But otherwise, trading a bunch of picks for some guy who's 33 and never won it, I wouldn't do that. You just got to draft the guy, and it's not easy. So do it every year until you get it right.
Tom Brady would never do that, huh?
No. Why would he want to come back and play for the Niners? It's not like he's from San Mateo. It's not like he's – no. Anyway, Coach, good stuff. I'll see you next week.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Bye.
Bye.